Today, we're diving into Napoleon Hill's The Law of Success. But I want you to think of this not as some stuffy old philosophy book, but as a real, practical blueprint, kind of like an architect's plan for building an amazing life. So let me ask you this. What if success wasn't an accident? What if it wasn't just luck, but a science? That's exactly the question Hill wanted to answer. He believed achievement wasn't random at all, but that it came from following a very specific and learnable set of laws.
And look, this wasn't just some theory he cooked up in his head. Hill spent over 20 years studying the most successful people on the planet. We're talking titans of industry, innovators. He analyzed what they did, how they thought, and he boiled it all down into a single, universal formula based on what actually works in the real world.
Okay, so before we can start building anything, we've got to clear the construction site, right? Hill was big on this. He argued that success doesn't start with what you do, it starts with what you overcome. And that means you have to face your inner enemies head-on first.
So this whole journey really starts by taking a good, hard look in the mirror. Hill was convinced that every single one of us, you and me included, is being held back by a handful of really common, destructive forces. The very first step, he said, is to just name them, figure out what they are.
And he got really specific. He identified what he called the 6 basic fears. Think of them as these hidden enemies inside our own minds, just poisoning our thoughts, killing our ambition, and stopping us from actually doing anything. As I go through them, see if any of these ring a bell for you.
All right, here they are, the 6 big ones. The fear of poverty, the fear of ill health, the fear of getting old, the fear of what other people think, criticism. Then there's the fear of losing love, and the ultimate one, the fear of death. Hill's whole point was that pretty much everyone is shackled by at least one of these, and that they're the root cause of most failure and unhappiness.
But here's the good news, and it's a total game changer. Since these enemies only exist inside your head, you have the power to kick them out. You're in control. Hill basically said the moment you truly decide that you're going to beat these fears, you've already won half the battle.
All right, so once you start clearing out that negative mental clutter, it's time to build. It's time to generate some real power. And for Hill, the #1 tool for doing that was a concept he called the mastermind.
Now, a mastermind group, it's way more than just teamwork. Hill called it the chemistry of the mind. It's this idea that when 2 or more people come together in the right way, they create this third, invisible, super powerful mind that everyone in the group can draw from. It's a wild concept.
So how does it work? Well, it's kind of like a recipe with 3 main ingredients. First, everyone needs to be focused on one clear goal, a definite purpose. Second, and this is huge, the group has to be in perfect harmony. That means no jealousy, no friction. When you get those 2 things right, bam, you unlock that third mind and get access to this incredible surge of energy and ideas.
Here's a great way to think about it. Imagine each person in your group is a battery. If you connect a bunch of batteries to the same wire, what happens? The power skyrockets, right? It's the same principle. Every mind you add in harmony just amps up the total power. And that's how small groups of people can achieve things that seem absolutely impossible.
Okay, so you're tackling your fears. You get the mastermind concept. Now let's get down to brass tacks. Let's talk about the practical toolkit. We've gone through Hill's work and pulled out 4 of the most critical laws that you can literally start using today.
And you've got to see these 4 laws as a complete system. They all work together. It all kicks off with having a definite chief aim, knowing exactly where you're going. That's fueled by real self-confidence. Then you build incredible momentum by making a habit of doing more than you're paid for. And the whole thing is kept on track by self-control.
Let's start with that definite chief aim. Honestly, this is the foundation for everything. Hill was adamant about this. You have to write it down. Be specific. And then put it somewhere you will see it every single day. The idea is to burn that goal into your subconscious mind so that, eventually, your brain just starts automatically steering you toward it.
Next up, self-confidence. And this is a really important distinction Hill makes. We have to be careful not to confuse it with egotism. They are not the same thing. Real self-confidence is quiet. It's a solid belief that's built on actual knowledge of what you're capable of. Egotism, that's just loud, empty boasting about things you wish you could do.
Oh, I love this next one, the habit of doing more than you're paid for. Look, this isn't about being a martyr or just being nice. It's a calculated, strategic move. When you consistently over-deliver, you tap into what Hill calls the law of increasing returns. You build a reputation for excellence that makes you indispensable. People will literally line up for what you have to offer.
And finally, let's talk self-control. Think about it like this. Enthusiasm is your engine. It's the raw horsepower. But self-control? That's the steering wheel. It's what directs all that energy. Without it, all that enthusiasm is just like a bolt of lightning. Super powerful, yeah, but totally wild, chaotic, and probably destructive.
So let's recap. We've talked about the enemies you have to conquer, the power of the mastermind, and these 4 core laws. But look, just knowing this stuff isn't enough, right? The real magic happens when you start applying it. That's where you build genuine personal power.
And this quote from Hill just nails the whole idea. Power is organized energy or effort. It's so simple but so profound. Power isn't some mystical thing you're born with. It's something you create. It's the result of taking all your energy, all your knowledge, and focusing it, like a laser, on that one specific goal.
And that right there is why this is all so important. These laws aren't just feel-good philosophy to think about. They're tools. They're the nuts and bolts, the actual components in the blueprint. They're just sitting there, waiting for you to pick them up and start building something amazing. You know, in the end, Hill's work doesn't hand you success on a platter. It gives you the framework. It lays out the plan. The blueprint is literally in your hands now. So there's really only one question left to ask yourself. What are you going to build?